Hi, I'm Keith Leathers, and I do woodworking, and I've done woodworking and wood finishing most of my life. Anyway, that's how it all started, and then when I got retired, I said, gee, I got to do something, so I got this little shop here in my back of my house, so I started cutting these lamps. I think some of my lamps are absolutely beautiful. And I never know what I'm going to get until I get it done. And it's a thing that they used to use to make table legs that had a sweep on them. And that's when they were very cautious with their material, and they could make designs and it wouldn't take a whole bunch of wood. They could make those designs, it would stick out 6 or 8 inches, and a leg that gave them that 6 or 8 inches almost without, with a 4x4. So that's where it all come from. It didn't come from me. And my boss showed it to me in a book one time. What you do with the lamp, you actually cut it. And you cut it, anything you make a cut and zigzag it going down, you turn it over on the other side, one side, you only cut it on the one side and go through it, and then you take and turn it over, quarter turn, and then you push it through and cut it again, and they'll go back together. I start out with a 4x4 cedar, which is 3.5 by 3.5. Cedar works out nice. It's got a nice grain. To make the pattern, I usually draw it out on a 3.5 inch piece of white poster board that I get at the hardware store. Put the pattern down, then I turn the board, and then I lay the pattern reverse. And then, like I say, they'll all go back together. So anything you cut on them will turn around and go back together. We actually make 2 cuts. We'll lay the 4x4 out and make a cut down through it. You lay your design on there, and then you turn it and do it on the other side. Well, when you make the cuts, you have to use the smallest thickness of blade because you're turning. And if you think about it, it cuts and makes 4 pieces. And then you can take these 4 pieces, and it'll be a little confusing, but you lay them out on a bench and they'll go back together and say, well, this one fits this one. You turn them inside out and they all fit. They'll always make something, and it'll be all the joints and all the cuts matched together. Well, if you're going to put the design in them, the extra cuts, cut them out, what you do is put it back together, the 4, make it a 4x4 again. And then you draw out your design, whatever it be. I usually take and drill a little hole in the back, and I put a little finish nail in. And this gives you an exact location of where that thing's cut off. And then you cut it with it together, and I clamp it tightly, and your saw has to be perfectly square, straight up and down. So what I do, I cut in, and then I cut the pattern all out. And then the last cut I do, I cut it off. So it's a piece here with all these pieces on it, whatever. And then I push that back on with those little nails, and I actually glue it back together. And I use to glue these pieces, I use rubber bands. Well, one thing I do to make sure that I can drill down through the middle of them, I put it together, the 4-root bore again, and I have a router with a 45-degree cut on it. And I run that down all 4 sides. By making this chamfer in there, that little 45, it gives you a guide. So you take the drill bit on your drill and just drill down through it. And I use a 1/4 inch, and then your cord will slide right down. Yeah, I use a regular wood glue. And when I glue it, I just usually always make sure you clamp it. Most of the times I use a DA sander and rough paper first. I start with like sometimes a 40, and you just rough it out. You don't want to sand it too much with a 40 because it will change it. Then I shift to like an 80 and then maybe 100. I'll take a spray can with black paint in it and I just fog it just a little bit. When I fog it, that gives me, you know, there's a lot of places to sand on one, and you got 4 different sides, and you remember which side you sanded, which one you didn't. So therefore, each time I do it, after I get done, I fog it again. And then the last time I put a 150 on. And I put the 150 and I sand the black off and get it down real nice and smooth. And then it's time to stain. What I do isn't important as to how I do it. And I want people to know how to do it because I think it's an art that I think if people know it, they're going to try it. But the first innovation, turn it inside out, that I didn't think of. But this cutting them out and all that is, I don't know as anybody has ever done that before. So it's, as far as I know, it's a new thing, and I think people would enjoy doing it.